Welcome everybody to this episode of Nerd Caliber. Today I have 5 fantastic Harley Quinn fans, and today we're going to talk about the evolution of Harley Quinn, of how she was first portrayed to how she is shown now in mainstream media, or just become really popular. It's very interesting if you're a fan since the Batman animated series of how she has grown. Before we begin, let's everyone go around and introduce yourselves and your social media.
Hi, I am Jenny, or Holly Chance. I only have Instagram. You can find me at Holly Chance Love Expert. And that's about it for me. I've been doing this too long. Gabby, you next.
Gabby, I am complicated and have 2 Instagrams, one for work, which is tattoos. It's Gabby Good Arts. And then one for my cosplay, which is Gabby Ghoul with a 0, not an O, because I still live in 2005. And that's about it for me.
Hi, I'm Valerie Cosplay, also known as Valerie, or Val, whatever floats your boat. I have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can find me on Valerie Cosplays and on TikTok on Valerie Cosplays Backup too. That's it.
Hello, hi, I'm Tasha. You can find me at Tissy Tasha, and I'm from Ireland. I'm a cool Irish cosplayer. I'm like, yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Okay. Now me? Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Yes, on Instagram. I pretty much only have Instagram now, and I cosplay a lot, and I have really nothing else to contribute either, so hi.
Hi.
Well, let's talk about what's your experience with Harley Quinn when you first saw her in the Batman animated series. What were your thoughts about that?
To be honest, actually, when I was really little, and I first started watching Batman the animated series, I geared more towards Poison Ivy because she was a Gen, so was I, and I didn't really understand why Harley stuck around with Joker, but then certain things in my life led me to her. Something I think a lot of people felt very connected to and very relatable to, and I have tried to read a lot of her different iterations, but for me, classic and her like Terry Dodson run or the New Adventures run or like Gotham Sirens, or for me that's her. As different as those iterations are, they're the most true to her, I feel. But for me, she's not what she was. For me, they're 2 completely different characters. I think that's why I enjoyed White Knight, because they kept both of them, but explained how they could coexist. And to me, I feel like that's a great thing that DC could totally take advantage of, but they're not gonna. At least I don't think. But that's where I stand on it, just to cut my rant short, because y'all know I could talk forever. Okay, passing it on to Getty. I'm just going in order of where the squares are on my screen.
This is. All right, well, I was also a wee little lass when I saw Harley in Batman the Animated Series, and I was really drawn to her and Poison Ivy just because I didn't really see a lot of like bad girls in cartoons at that time. So I was just like, wow, they're bad. I like them, really good influences essentially. And then just kind of due to my like upbringing, like she kind of my affections for her kind of teetered off into my teenage years, and then like later on when I want to say the Christopher Nolan movies came, I remember seeing like Dark Knight and just waiting for that moment she was gonna come. I was like, she's got to be in this. Joker's in this. What are you talking about? And yeah, like when I didn't get that, I was really disappointed. So seeing like the new films, I was super stoked. So seeing her new incarnations was a bit of a disappointment for me. I liked the bubbly, like cheerful disposition that she carried, and not so much like the sexualness that you started to see in the Arkham games. And I don't know, there's just something about her. There's just something about Harley to me that just like really just appeals. I don't know if it is like, the really deep relationship that she has with the Joker and like how like just complicated it can be. Like there's just things about it I really appreciate, because you can like bad things and be objective about it. But yeah,
you can be objective about fictional couples and still enjoy them and recognize that they're abusive.
Exactly.
Yeah, just gonna say it.
But I feel like I'm also going to ramble too if I keep going. But yeah, no, she just there's just something about the character. There's just something about her charm, or something about how she was voiced that I feel is really lost nowadays. And I mean that's all subjective, you know. But yeah.
Well, this is a purely like opinion-based thing. You are entitled to feel the way you feel.
You know, it's very, very hard to do that nowadays when you talk about her.
I feel like we'll get to that later on, but Valerie, you next.
Well, I actually found Joker first because I'm a bit of a baby. I'm turning 23 this year, and the Batman anime series weren't here. Like when I was young, they weren't on TV. Because I'm from the Netherlands, we don't really have that kind of stuff. So I saw Joker in like The Dark Knight, and I was like, "You're so cool, but do you have like a girlfriend?" And then I discovered Harley. I was like, "Her design, it's ugly. Why do you?" And then I started watching all of her like videos and all the Batman animated series, and I was like, "Look, I loved her energy, her bubbliness, her everything. I just wanted to be her, and I started to cosplay her. And then I bought like the comics. I got every piece of Harley merch I got my hands on. Like it was awful. I got like so obsessed with her. Also with her and Joker, because I absolutely still love Joker. Like he's my favorite character in the whole Batman universe. But then like I started more invested, started playing the games. I actually really like the games. I like Joker, I like Harley, I like the dynamic, and I think they, even though she's more sexualized, which I do see and I don't like, I still like her behavior for some reason. I think it's adorable. So yeah, and then Suicide Squad came, and there I will stop talking before someone gets mad because I hate that movie with a passion. I haven't seen a new Harley Quinn movie because I was so upset with like and not against Margot Robbie, she's an amazing actress, but everything about this hurt my heart. I went in there so excited, stoked, and I got out there and I could cry. Like I even went to the movie like 3 times because I thought maybe if I go another time I'll change my opinion. Not at all. I cannot talk about this. It hurt. So yeah, I love her. She's like everything how I like want to be. She's bubbly, energetic. She's like there for her friends, but she's also really determined, and I absolutely love her personality. Like she's so cute. So yeah, that's it for me, I guess.
Okay, then I guess it's Tasha, right?
What?
If we're still going in the order of introduction.
I like that.
I'm really not bad. Like, so yeah, basically, I was kind of like brought up watching all of like Tim Burton films. So Batman 1989, I was heavily obsessed with as a kid, and then that kind of like spiraled into just watching like Christopher Nolan films. So I've only really just turned 23. So the Batman animated series, for me personally, I didn't really watch it growing up, but whenever I started to become heavily obsessed with the Joker, that's kind of where whenever I started to discover Harley Quinn, and I started to cosplay. My first cosplay was in 2012 and I was 15, so I'm still kind of a baby cosplayer, I guess. But whenever I went to the con as a classic Harley Quinn, after kind of like discovering her, I watched like all the Batman animated series, you know, I played the games, I started really getting into it. Like she gave me such an empowerment that I thought beforehand I didn't have, and I felt like I was very shy up until then. So I think that after I blah 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 words. After I read all the Gotham City Siren comics, after I watched like Gotham Girls, like the web animated series, like played all the games, everything, I think I just started to really like try to embody her like outgoingness and her bubbliness and like what she kind of wanted to be as a person. So I really love her in that embodiment, especially her Gotham City Sirens. Like I think that's my favorite like Harley to me, and I love Batman animated series as well, obviously because it's like classic. But yeah, I'm not a massive fan of the games, obviously because of like the way she's kind of overly sexualized, and of course that can kind of lead into Suicide Squad, you know, with her kind of like hanging down on the ropes and looking at the bar. Like I understand that can really frustrate Harley Quinn fans who were so hyped up to go into a film where they feel like that they were going to get represented correctly, and maybe they just didn't really. And you know, and that's what really put me off going to go and see Birds of Prey. I actually did enjoy Margot Robbie's interpretation of her then a lot, which was kind of surprising for me because it felt like she really had a lot of control over the character, as opposed to whenever like the director of Suicide Squad like gave her the script and the lines, you know, back in 2016. It just didn't fit right for me and a lot of Harley Quinn fans. But yeah, before I go into a tangent and all that kind of stuff, I don't really like keep up to date a lot with her in like from 2015 onwards in terms of comics a lot, but I love to read like her 2003 series and like things kind of like just before 2015 or so. I've kind of dabbled into little bits and bobs of it, but I think classic to me is probably my favorite. But yeah, before I go into a tangent, yes, work, that's me. Sorry.
You're good.
Hello.
Your turn.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, my story kind of sounds like everybody else's so far. I was obsessed with the Heath Ledger Joker growing up, and I think it was about like 2 years into like being like uncomfortably obsessed when somebody introduced me to the animated series. And I mean, Harley, I've visited Harley a lot in my life in terms of like obsession. Like the New 52 series, I got excited that Harley was part of something again, so I really tried to like it, and I really tried to like Rebirth. And I like, and there is the part of Rebirth, like the Rebirth Harley, her redemption arc is really inspiring, and I did resonate with it when I was going through a really tough time with abusive relationships. So like, I appreciate what is done for the character, but I prefer her old aesthetic and attitude better, you know? But to me, Harley is, I think the best part about her to me is that there's not a lot of female characters in comics that are like represented in such a multifaceted kind of way. If that makes sense. I was obsessed with Batgirl and I was obsessed with Supergirl because they both like, I mean, they're badass, but like reading comics and stuff, they just, a lot of female characters have that default, I do good attitude. So it's nice to get interpretation of Harley just being bubbly and sweet, but also an asshole. But yeah, that's her to me. A lot.
Okie dokie.
Okay. So well, one of the major things with the growth of Harley is relationships. First it was the Joker, and then it sort of changed a little bit with Poison Ivy. But then there's been instances where that one movie special that she hooked up with Nightwing. In the comics now, it looks like they're pushing her and Booster Gold together. And I know I know, and by the way, you know, everyone's opinion is valid, and you know, I just want to hear what your thoughts are about her relationships. What are your thoughts about it? Do you feel that DC's doing a good job with that, and why or why not?
I will be the first, literally and figuratively, to say I do not think DC is doing a good job with that at all. I don't think the fandom base for her is helping all that much either. I will always love her and Joker. Their dynamic is very odd couple mixed with, I don't know, like it's not quite I Love Lucy or the Three Stooges, but there's just something about it. Like even in that new Harley Quinn show, the very first episode, the bits with them is just, it had me laughing my butt off. Like that whole Reese Witherspoon line, which if you haven't watched it, that is going to confuse the crap out of you, me just saying that. It had me laughing my butt off, and a lot of the time that's kind of the charm of them, where people need to understand, yes, it's an abusive relationship, but more often than not, people seem to be under the very wrong understanding that it is a one-sided abuse. He is the only one doing the abuse. Harley is a manipulative little asshole in the animated series and in the 2000 run. And Gotham City Sirens, not for nothing, look what she did to Ivy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, Harley Quinn is, Batman said it best, even from the beginning, Harley Quinn was no angel. People need to understand that. For me, I'll always love Joker and Harley. There was a time where, yeah, I really enjoyed the Harley and Ivy thing because it was special. You didn't see it all that often, but now it's like, you have to do Harley and Ivy, or you're supporting abuse. But it's like people forget Ivy and Harley is just as unhealthy. Like Ivy's like tried to kill Harley multiple times. She's like beaten her, she's choked her. Harley has like tried to kill Ivy or get Ivy killed or almost gotten her killed. When it comes down to it, a lot of Harley's relationships just aren't the healthiest, but we can still enjoy them because it is fiction. It is not real. It's comics are escapism, and everyone should be allowed to ship what they ship, like what they like. Like me personally, Batcat forever. I know some people like him with Talia. I know some people like him with Wonder Woman. For me, that's not it. For me, it's Batcat or Harley and Joker or anything like that. But you should be able to say that online without getting attacked and said that you're supporting abusive relationships when you're not. You just can separate real life and fiction. And I'll end it there. That's my spiel for that right now. I'm not going to talk about a certain other.
Yeah.
She doesn't get to be mentioned, for me at least.
Okay, Gabby?
Yeah, kind of echoing similar sentiments. I mean, it's funny, everyone watches Game of Thrones and they love all that gross stuff, but the minute you like Harley and Joker together, you're like condone abuse, which I'm not really like a Harley Joker shipper. I do appreciate their dynamic, especially like in the animated series. I like kind of like what Holly was saying. Like I really loved, they were so funny together. Like it's almost a shame. Like when there isn't that violent dynamic, I really, really like the characters. Like I really do. Like I love them. And like Lego Batman. I love like those interests like the Batman Ninja, even though everyone has mixed feelings on it. I love like their dynamic in that and how their story was told in like this like romantic Japanese painting sort of way. I did, you know, I like the Harley loves Joker where he's extremely sweet to her. Like, you know, it's a nice dynamic and I can dig it. And Harley and Ivy, that was kind of like another thing too. I mean, like, I'm all for it. Like, yes, give me the gay. But I do wish the fans also did understand that there is, again, everyone here is a villain, at least in my eyes, at least in my canon.
Make Harley a villain again. Sorry.
For real. Hashtag. But yeah, like everyone's a villain. Everyone's gonna be dysfunctional. Everyone here, like they're not right in the head. They go to Arkham Asylum. Like, yeah. You know, like they're all in the loony bin. Like if you expect perfection and functionality, you're in the wrong place, in my opinion. And that's kind of why I enjoy the Batman mythos in general. Batman to me, I mean, I've watched Batman '89. It's all Tim Burton. I love Batman and Robin. I love all the campiness. I love the Bat universe and the dimensions and the interesting characters that it has like brought to life. And it's just like a shame that it's become such like a black and white sort of thing, and that you can't have these like really like in-depth like dysfunctional relationships and look at them objectively. And as far as like Harley and Booster Gold, all I gotta say is if 7-year-old me thought Booster Gold was whack in the Justice League animated series, I don't understand why they would do that.
Okay, I think everyone thinks he's whack.
Like, everyone thinks he's whack. Like everyone thinks he's whack. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's like, damn, just let the girl be single and continue to discover herself. Like I wish the animated series had done what New 52 was doing as far as her redemption arc. I kind of like how it was done in the show more than it was done in the comics. There was just something a bit more well thought out about it. But I guess overall relationships and those things, Harley's complicated. Her relationships are complicated. And that's what I like about it. So I'm gonna pass it on.
For me, like the moment I discovered Harley, I like was just out of the closet as like bisexual, and then discovering I was like in the moment that they also made her more with Ivy, and I adored that because I was like, hey, I find someone I can actually relate to and I want to be like her, and I already can relate to her in a lot of points. So I had like a time in my life, but her and Joker are my favorite ship to go to. Like I love their dynamic. I love them together. Everyone's always like what the other two says. like it's an unhealthy relationship, but it's fiction. I have a very healthy relationship. That the fact that I like that doesn't mean I have it or I want it. I never want that. Like if I would ever have that, please call the cops. Like that's worrying.
Good, that means you're sane.
Yeah, like call the cops. But like no joke. Like I would never want that.
Admit it's fiction.
Yeah, it's just fiction. I like their reaction together. I like them together. I like the fact that everyone is always like, yeah, but he's an asshole. But she's just as big as an asshole too, man. Come on. Don't just because she's a girl doesn't mean she's any better than them. And I have the feeling a lot of people like sugarcoat her because she's like a woman, which is my personal feeling, but it kind of frustrates me because she's just as bad as him. Like, don't make it look like she's a victim here. He's just as much a victim as her. Only she's just like getting away with it, and it's just super annoying. I just really like them together, and also like her with Ivy. I also like them a lot, but my go-to is just Joker. I don't really care about all the others she's been shipped with. Like with the whole thing with Nightwing, what was that? Like, can we just not force that kind of stuff on the screen? It makes me so uncomfortable. Like, move over. I don't need that stuff. Like,
I'm just saying,
No.
it comes from the same guy who's trying to have Bruce Wayne hook up with his best friend's daughter.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Batgirl and Batman do not belong together. Throwing that out there right now.
No,
But
like-
if you like it, that's up to you. Just throwing it out there. It's his best friend's daughter, Gordon's daughter.
Oh no,
Just saying.
let's just not.
Anyway,
no,
sorry.
I just want her with Joker or with Ivy. I'm fine with Ivy, but I want Joker and Harley to be endgame, like to throw terms in. And what Jenny says is right. I'm in multiple communities, mostly because I cosplay for multiple communities, and there has been so much stuff happening with when you ship two characters who are toxic together. Like, let people ship if they like that shit. You don't have to like it. Just move on. Find your own stuff. Like, just because I like it doesn't mean I force you to like it. So, like, as long as it's not like an adult with a child, everything, like, should be, like, if it floats your boat, just, let people be, man. It's not that hard. And with it, I move over to the next.
Okie dokie. Tasha, you're up.
Hello, hi. Yeah, no, I'll say I agree with all the last people's points. I completely agree. Like, although I think it's amazing that they have introduced Harley and Ivy as a ship, for LGBTQ plus community. I think that is fantastic, especially for like younger, like teenagers or like children who like feel that they need to like kind of see that. It can be perceived as quite a good thing. However. I do like Harley and Ivy's dynamic in the Harley Quinn animated series. That's kind of like more recent. I do enjoy that. However, I really did love having Harley and Joker as like the ship, just because that was kind of what I became so accustomed to, like reading and growing up with and loving their like energy together and their dynamic. And I know at the end of the day, they are both individually, as everybody has previously said, manipulative people, and they're bad people, and they are loony, and they both go crazy and they go to Arkham Asylum. They are both effed up in their own ways, essentially. And I can understand that DC maybe wants to try new things and new directions and stuff, but for me, I personally do like having them together. That's just me. However, in the fact that it is fiction and it isn't something that you wouldn't want to condone, obviously, in real life. But again, it's like separating the comics and the fiction from obviously real problems in the world. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I actually had to shut down. I had obviously, like, I know Tumblr's kind of like dead now, but I had a Harley Joker account. It was kind of like just a core to shipping account. I was on there for like 5 years, like a long time ago. And one of the reasons why I had to kind of kill it in 2015 was because the amount of kind of people I got messaging me saying that this isn't right and you should remove this account and it's not on to have a Harley Joker account. But in my eyes, I was just like, but this is something that I enjoy. This is characters that I've been brought up with that I love. I don't want to be like penalized just for enjoying something, but yeah, that's kind of all I have to say on it. I do enjoy Harley and Ivy sometimes, and I think it's a cool direction for DC going, but I like in terms of like Nightwing or maybe like the Joker's like new girlfriend at the minute, I don't really know what's going on with that. I can understand they want to try new things, but I personally don't like it. But yeah.
No.
I really like how
I just hear the no.
No. Sorry. No. Okay, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
It's bad.
But again, no judgment. You see, if you love like the Joker's new girlfriend and you like the vibe or whatever, like I completely understand. Do you know what I mean? Like again, everybody has their own valid opinions and they can ship what they want to ship at the end of the day. That's what I gotta say. You know.
Okay.
in my opinion, I just cut in. For me, honestly, with Harley and Joker, I like the non-abusive versions. I love them. I think those are what draws me to staying with loving Harley and Joker. But they're both villains, and there's no way that you can interpret a villain relationship without them in themselves being abusive to each other, because that's when a person is bad to the core, the relationship is abusive inherently. So it's both Harley and Joker because they are both naturally manipulative and abusive people. But as for Poison Ivy, I think, I mean, honestly, they grow from each other in a way. Like, Harley is overly extroverted and loving, and Ivy is the complete polar opposite of that, and it is bad, and Harley and Ivy don't blend together perfectly, but I think the fact that they can kind of stable each other out, it's great. But as for like Booster Gold and Nightwing and everybody else, I feel like DC is kind of doing the same thing they did to Barbara Gordon, where they were like, oh, I can ship every male character with this Gotham-themed female and get more from it. So it's kind of exhausting to see because they're really capitalizing on the fact that everybody loves Harley right now. So the more relationships and new things that they bring out and stuff, it's more benefit for them, but it really does the same effect that it did with Barbara Gordon sleeping with Batman. And yeah, in my opinion, I think DC definitely needs to at least give, if Harley's gonna have the redemption that they are trying to give her, I think it completely dampens it by throwing her into a new relationship, because I think, like Gabby said, Harley is better on her own because she is her own character. If she can't be with Joker, then Harley herself is standalone, if that makes sense. I still like her. I just personally feel like since she was literally born and created from the idea of being Joker's side, if she's not with Joker, it makes more sense for her to just be her own. I don't know though.
Like, just touching on that, yeah, she was created, well, as a one-off, but to be a henchwoman to Joker. Without Joker, we would not have Harley. And don't get me well, she would have met Ivy too. I don't see Ivy doing to Harley what Joker did to Harley. I don't think we'd have Harley without Joker.
Exactly.
Okay, so
you can hate that ship, but like at least respect that part of it.
Exactly.
okay. Well, one more question. So as you see that from henchwoman to, I guess, a villain to now DC's making her more to an anti-hero in a sense, kind of like Deadpool in a way. Because Deadpool started out as a villain and then he became sort of this anti-hero crazy thing. And it looks like Harley's sort of going that same venture. Well, do you feel that works? And why or why not?
I prefer Harley as a villain. We already have Catwoman as the anti-hero kind of deal where she's always out for herself. Like, well, it's interesting to see Harley like this. I think the best Harley like kind of redemption arc, I would go with like her 2000 series where like she's kind of loses it when she like endangers a kid, and she admits herself back to Arkham. She turns herself in, and I think showing a character admitting that they have done wrong and they need help, and like her going back to the hospital and being like, I need to be here, I belong here, like I'm clearly not like right in the head. At least that's how I interpreted it. For that little arc. Or White Knight with her talking to Batman or whatever, or even Harleen, which has like the most special place in my heart right now, is like one of the newer comics that I actually deeply enjoy and think give that character the depth and room to breathe that we haven't gotten for her in a while. I feel like to get that redemption, you need to fully understand her as a character, and you need to fully have been with her on this ride and seen what she's been through. You need to see the angles from both sides. And yeah, there's a lot you can get out of it when you go along for that ride. And for a lot of people, that's it's really important to see, okay, to see her change and grow. And yeah, you can change and grow a character, but for me, DC and some of the writers, the way they handle her, I don't think they really understood her as a character, and turning her into this wacky Deadpool wannabe kind of deal is like stripping her down to like the bare bones of her character as crazy and bubbly, and like keeping it at that, and that's it. But for me, like I know some people won't see her that way, and some people will see other things in newer iterations that I just don't pick up on, maybe because I have a very strong bias. But for me, I'm not really digging the anti-hero. I don't think it works for Harley. I like Harley as a villain. I like her doing messed up stuff. If you're gonna make her kind of anti-hero, the best I think it worked is Gotham City Sirens, where she's not really committing any crimes. She saves Bruce Wayne. Like, she's Batman, and like it's all revealed at the end, and Batman's like, I knew you'd keep him out of trouble, Catwoman. And like that kind of thing, where it's like, yeah, you have this redemption, but like what I enjoy about her is you kind of see her grow as a person. You kind of get that exchange and growth, and for me, it worked better the way they had done it in the past versus how they're doing it now. Now it feels like a watered down version of what they've already done. At least that's how I view it. But yeah, just for me, it's not working the way they're executing it. I think it could work. I just don't think they have fully thought out how to do it, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't feel well thought out to me. I'll end it there. I'll chop it there. Okay, you're up.
Alrighty. I'm actually gonna piggyback off of that. I agree that I feel like a lot of this isn't thought out. As far as the whole villain anti-hero debacle, I appreciate Harley as an anti-hero in Injustice. I like that those alternate universes. It made sense in Injustice. She literally, she ended up with his army basically and just did her own thing. Like, this was a world where everything was flip-flop, that there were alliances that didn't make sense but had to. So her being an anti-hero in that, it works. Everything else, and in White Knight as well, like, her deciding to leave because of what happened to Jason Todd, and then bringing in this like alternate Harley to kind of like satisfy like the newer fans, like brilliant concept, like chef's kiss. Like, I love it. It was well thought out. It was well thought out. And that's what we're lacking with the direction, is a well thought out character. And even the animated show, for all its flaws, still even did, like, it had a solid direction as what they were going to do as far as like that growth that led her to question her moral compass as to whether or not she was truly a villain or an anti-hero. And that's something the comics just kind of like, finagled on. Amanda and Jimmy themselves said in like page like 4 they're going to make a bunch of money off of her, so it just like seemed kind of shallow to begin with. So at least like the show kind of like touched upon the villain anti-hero sort of aspect. She keeps showing these like parts of herself that are revealing that she's like the anti-hero. Again, to me it worked. And those are just things that I feel like I wish DC could just like come on, man, like y'all were good. Like I just kind of want I guess a return to form. I feel like, you know, DC's known for its grittiness, its dark characters. I love the dark characters. I don't want some Technicolor boppy shit. I go to Marvel for that. Like whatever. I can read something else. I'm like boom or whatever. Like I want the grittiness, I want the darkness, I want a villain. And that is why I hope no one throws a stone at me through the computer. It's kind of why I kind of enjoy Punchline. Despise her as Joker's like partner. Oh God, I'm sorry. I despise her as Joker's freaking partner. I think that's stupid. Like, no, enough. And her backstory, man, you could have done a little bit better too than the fangirl thing. But from a design standpoint, to me, she's aesthetically pleasing. She looks deranged, and I love it. I love a crazy bitch. Like that's just my kind of character. And so it's like, I wish they could just like pick her up, put her over here, make her her own villain, do her own little thing, and just like, you know, just separate the two and be done with it. And just, yeah, I just miss villains. I miss Harley as a villain. I miss a complex, complicated character. So that's my 2 cents. I'm gonna pass it on over.
Yeah, I don't have that lot of like information. I just want her to be a villain. I think the anti-hero thing's boring. I think it's working for Deadpool, and further it's boring. Like, we got a lot of those things. We don't make movies out of them because no one's really looking for it, and now suddenly we're making movies out of it, so we're changing Harley in it because it's like basically in hype. I don't like that shit. Like, I believe she will do like some good stuff. Like, I think personally freeing hyenas out of like a zoo in one of the comics, she did that, is sort of good because those who didn't really take care of it. So she does have her stuff, but I like that kind of stuff because it's still not necessarily good. It's just something she does because it's Harley. I really don't like the anti-hero. Like I get it, and like Gabby said, for like Injustice and stuff, it worked. But for the like go guys, we get it. She's a villain. Like, let her be a villain. She doesn't have to be good. She's not a good girl. Like, I don't want a good girl. Like, I like those girls because they're evil. If I want a good girl, I'll look at bad girl or Supergirl or any other like girly hero. And I don't want that. I just want this crazy ass bitch that just does her own thing and likes Joker and like to piss off people because they make them laugh. That's what I like. And I'm so done with the DC trying to justify her. Like, stop that. Like, let her just do things because she thinks it's funny. Just let it happen. I kind of like that about her. That's what I was like pulled to her. So yeah, I'm not having that like with like a lot of comics and background why, but I just want that. Yeah, this is not that hard, I guess.
Okie dokie.
So next.
I think. Hello, sorry. I don't know if I'm coming up or not. Yeah, so I kind of agree with one of like Jenny's past points and the fact that she kind of questions her moral code in her earlier comics, such as like the early 2000s with like her and like the comments in her like harming the child and all that kind of stuff. She has to kind of like put herself in check. And I think that by making her like an anti-hero now, the whole like bubbly and over the top and Deadpool, it kind of strips away that what they built up for her for so many years. And I think that kind of, for me especially, that kind of like deterred away some of the fan base. But however, I can understand that, you know, in terms of like Birds of Prey, you know, I can understand like people have their own opinions and like a bubbly like character. I know some girls that like love like her like bubbliness in like the recent comics in the New 52, and I understand that. However, I think at the end of the day, I think it's just not the character that I initially started to love. And obviously we know that DC is such a money grabbing company anyway, so if they latch on to something, they're gonna push it full force, you know. So obviously stuff like Deadpool and trying to make her that kind of character now, I think just kind of diminishes what she was originally kind of there for, if that makes sense. And yeah, I think she's just kind of been stripped away in some aspects of her character, and I kind of miss the old kind of style comics and stuff. But I understand, you know, companies have to progress and they have to make their money and stuff, but I think it has like deterred a lot of like the fan base. But I can also understand that it's introduced new people to her character. You know, there's different sides to every story. But yeah, I miss the way that she used to be. But yeah, that's just it. That's all I gotta say.
I'm glad we can all agree that it's a decision made out of money. That's what I say is I feel like Gabby said, the injustice to Harley being an anti-hero made total sense to me. That worked for the vibe, but in general, I feel like there's a lot more logic to her character being a villain, because the entire point of Harley is that she is as batshit as Joker. And if you're going to take a woman and give her basically the equivalent of Joker's mindset, why would she care about ever doing the good for others? Like, even passing on, like, away from the Joker, like, following the storyline of her dropping into the acid, it's like, once your brain is that gone, where's the moral code? I think, in my opinion, Harley working as a villain works when she does do those, like, not exactly hero, but not exactly villain things, like breaking out hyenas, or like beating the fuck out of a pedophile with Ivy in Batman Black and White. I think those little things make sense, but trying to push the market that she's female Deadpool and she's quirky and funny too, so girls can relate, right? It's kind of like really damaging to her character to me, because it loses her entire psychology.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Well, thank you everyone for being part of this. I'm learning, and I'm enjoying hearing your responses about the Harley Quinn character. So to our viewers, what do you think? Feel free to leave your opinions in the comments below. Be nice. And yes, thank you all. Before we sign out, would everyone say your name again and your social media?
Jenny at Holly Chance Love Expert on Instagram.
Okay, I'm Gabby at Gabby Good Arts on Instagram for tattoos, and Gabby Ghoul with a 0 for cosplay.
Binary Cosplays on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And Binary Cosplays back up on TikTok.
Hey, I'm Tasha. You can find me on Tipsy Tasha or Minty Bobbon on TikTok, and that's about it, really.
I'm Kit. I'm Alias on Instagram. I'm only on Instagram. That's all. Yeah. Bye.
Excellent. And thank you, our viewers, for watching. And everyone have a great day. Stay tuned for more content.